Hello, hello. Welcome to Wander Far, Wonder Deep, a podcast where we chat about traveling, mainly solo travel, personal growth, and taking time to reflect on all the things that make life very, very interesting. This page is all about exploring the world and figuring things out along the way. So grab some tea or some coffee and come and chat with me. So, before we get into this episode, I do want to give a heads up that throughout this episode, I say Spain a lot. And I do not want to generalize all of Spain. I have not been to all of Spain. During this trip, I went to specifically Barcelona and Valencia. And when I say Spain, I am mainly talking about Barcelona. I just want to give you a heads up about that because I don't want to generalize all of Spain with the thoughts that I'm going to be saying in this video. All right, let's hop into it. I went to Spain. It was actually on my bucket list. I was so excited to go. I planned it to a T. I wanted to see all of Gaudi's buildings. I wanted to see the architecture. I wanted to practice speaking Spanish because I'm learning Spanish. But surprisingly to me, it was my least favorite trip that I ever went on. And it was actually the least favorite country that I've been to. And I was puzzling that and because I met people there and they had the same thoughts as me. It really made me think about things because I thought it was just so funny how the one place that I really, really wanted to go to ended up being the place that I really didn't like. And there were some parts that I loved. And I just didn't see the appeal that other people had regarding Spain, which was so interesting to me. And I'll preface this by saying that I went to two different places in Spain. I did the slow traveling. I stayed in two places for longer periods of time. I was in Barcelona and I stayed in Valencia. I was only in Valencia for a few days though. I think it was it ended up being 3 or 4 days. Most of my time was spent in Barcelona. And I was in two different places in Barcelona. I was in the center area, and then I also was in the suburbs area. And the suburbs area I actually liked a bit more. Let's start with the good. Why did I like Spain? What did I like about Spain? I love the architecture. I think the architecture is beautiful. I don't think it's different from other European places. I think if it was the first place I ever went to in Europe, I would be amazed by the architecture, but it wasn't the first place I've been to in Europe. So I was kind of I was like, wow, architecture is beautiful. But I kept having this feeling of I've seen this somewhere before. I always like the architecture in Europe. I feel like the architecture is just always beautiful. It's I find that their attention to detail is just beautiful, and they have sculptures attached to their buildings, and they play around with their architecture in such a unique, not unique, but in such a beautiful way. It just looks very, very pleasing to the eye. One thing though that I absolutely loved was Gaudi's buildings, and it's interesting. Initially, I actually didn't really know about Gaudi. When I originally wanted to go to Spain, it was just because, I've seen pictures of it. I've heard that it was beautiful. I've always wanted to go since I was a kid. Interestingly enough, I went to two places that's not actually the places I would love to go. I would love to go to southern Spain. I would love to go to Sevilla, Cordoba, Granada. I would love to go there. And I might make a trip back, honestly, just to give it another shot and go into places that are a lot smaller. Before I had even gone, I had only recently known about Gaudi. He wasn't someone that was on my radar or anything of that sort. I didn't know about his buildings. I didn't know about his architecture or anything, and started researching more about him, and I grew to really wanting to see his work. And when I was researching, a lot of people were like, don't go inside. It's a waste of time. You don't have to go inside. Just look at the building from the outside. And I don't know, me, I'm not like that. I really like to look at something in detail. If you're telling me that he's a really good architecture, I want to see I really want to see his work. I bought for Casa Batlló. I bought for Casa Vicens. And I also bought for Park Güell. And those were the only ones that I was going to go to. And I accidentally ended up buying Palau Güell's as well. And it ended up being actually one of my favorite buildings of his. I also went to the Sagrada Familia. Palau Güell, I feel is so underrated. First of all, let me stop. I want to say, first off, you need to go inside of his buildings. you cannot not go inside the buildings of Gaudi. There is one where I'm like, I mean, it was cool to see, but I was kind of like, meh. I feel like they've done too much with it. They did too much, and it's overwhelming me. But you have to go inside of Gaudi's buildings because when I tell you, you think the outside is nice, and for the most part, actually, for most of them, it's actually a lot nicer inside. Palau Guel, from the outside, I was kind of like, meh, you wouldn't expect what you see inside just by looking from the outside. Palau Guel, absolutely stunning. I love the architecture so much. It just had a certain vibe to it, and also I found the detailing was amazing. There's one window that is on my Instagram, and it is a window and artwork at the same time. Like there's literally a painting and it's stained glass or something like that, and it's just mind-boggling. Like Palau Guel, I loved it, and it was the one that I was like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna like this one. I'm not buying a ticket for, and it's one of the ones that I loved the most. I think it's my first. It's hard to say. I think maybe it's my favorite house. Maybe I don't want. I think I don't know. I think it's tied between two. It's tied Palau Guel and Casa Vicens. Casa Vicens, I feel like, is so beautiful. It is stunning. There's so many colors to it. From the outside, first off, I think that's the only Gaudi house where from the outside I think it's beautiful, and on the inside it's beautiful as well. Like you have to go to see the inside of Casa Vicens because oh my gosh, it is absolutely stunning. You can tell that he was inspired by Arab architecture. It very much gives me like I don't know, like a Moroccan kind of vibe. Like it's beautiful, and he uses nature a lot in that one. And oh my god, if you go to a Gaudi house, you have to look up. You have to, when you go inside, look up at the ceilings and look at the artwork that he does. It's just magnifying. Like my neck was hurting. Like I just kept looking up because it's just beautiful. I really enjoyed those two houses so much. They're so beautiful. And Sagrada Familia, wow, I have no words for it. It's a lot. Sagrada Familia is a lot. I 100% think that people should go inside, particularly at sunset, because the way that the sun hits the windows and the light shines through. I eventually will upload it to Instagram so you can see, or you could watch my stories because I have it on my stories. But the way the light hits, it's just so beautiful. Like you can't even capture it truly on camera, like how beautiful it actually is. And the light, the colors just come down, and it hits the pillars and it hits the walls and it hits the floors, and it's like you're just engulfed in all these different colors because there's blue, there's red, there's green, there's yellow. It's just stunning. And then there was Casa Batlló, and this is the one I left for last because this is the one I'm really not. I thought it was okay. I thought it was overhyped. It's the one where I feel like you look from the outside and you're like, wow, it's really cool. It's really cool. But you go inside and I don't know. What I liked about each house was that you can see how his mind works, and you can see where he kind of gets his inspiration from, which is nature. And with Casa Batlló, you do really see that. Like you see like how he makes a window and it looks like a sea turtle shell, or he wanted to make it look like he was underwater, so he makes the windows of the balconies in a way that when you look through them, it looks like you're swimming underwater. There's different things that were really cool about that. But I think they ruined the house by how they organized it. So when I went, we use an iPad. You can like use your iPad to like look around. It's a really cool feature. If I got the gold and they give you the iPad, you can look around and it will show you what he was inspired by and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. I went during the evening time. They give people drinks, and you're supposed to, it's a living room, I think. You're supposed to go through it with your iPad. There's things that you can see, but they've made it like a serving station for people. And so it's full of people. drinking wine, trying to take pictures, and you're just like, I'm not interested in this wine. I really just want to look around and use the iPad and see how this room was made previously and admire the artwork. And you've turned it into a freaking a little cafe. Like, it was just very irritating. I didn't like it at all. And so that actually, I think, was one of the reasons that ruined my experience. But I just found it not as incredible as the other ones. I'll just say that. Of course, Gaudi's work is beautiful. It's amazing. But I think what they've turned that house into does not make it an enjoyable experience. I honestly I don't think they should be serving wine. I don't even know why they're serving wine in the house. Like, it was such a weird experience. I understand if you're having an event to serve the wine, but why are you serving the wine right now? And I think it was cava. It was cava, that was just a special drink that they have. To be honest, it might be also because that house, people say how it's absolutely stunning and beautiful and all these things. And so I think with that overhype that happened, they really tried to milk whatever they could from that house by serving a drink every night and all of that. But I think it actually took away from the house's aesthetic, from the house's appeal. And I also just think it was really overhyped. Like, I think I went in there thinking this is going to be the most incredible Gaudi house that I have seen yet. And it was the last house that I saw. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, that's cool. So there's that. I think the same thing for Park Güell, kind of. Park Güell, for the most part, it's basically all nature. Like, and then you get to basically one spot where it's basically all Gaudi. And then you're like, oh! And it looks like a Candyland. Like, I did like it. I don't think you should go at sunset because it gets dark quickly. And I feel like you can't really enjoy the park as much. And I don't know if it's worth the €10. I also think that you're actually able to see most of his work outside of the park, like by the gates. I feel like that's the one Gaudi place where you actually don't have to enter it. You could just go by the gates and see the house. The other place that I really liked was Palau de la Música de Catalana. It is a UNESCO heritage site, and it is an opera house, a theater house. I think it was really beautiful. I did a tour and I really liked it. And actually, fun fact is that the architecture who made that was actually Gaudi's teacher. And before I even knew that, I was kind of like, yo, I'm seeing some Gaudi in here. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I see Gaudi. And they were like, oh no, it was his teacher. And I was like, oh, his teacher also used nature. And so, I don't know, I thought that was a really cool place to visit. I did really like it. Why did I not like Spain? I guess is the question. Because I loved the buildings. The food was good. I liked the food. I had some really good food. And sometimes I still think about the steak that I ate, that big ass steak that I didn't know was going to be so big on my last night. That was delicious. I still think about the food though. The food was good, you guys. What I didn't like about Spain was, maybe I shouldn't say Spain. Let me rephrase this, because really it's Barcelona. Barcelona is the one that I really don't like. Valencia, I was like, oh, okay, like it's okay. But Barcelona itself is a place that I don't ever want to go back to Barcelona, honestly. I just found the people not as inviting as other countries I've been to. And I don't say it in a way like, oh, this person knew I was a tourist kind of thing. It was because people were like, oh, maybe it's because they are sick and tired of tourists. And that wasn't it at all. Like, I never got the vibe that they're doing this because I'm a tourist. It was just, I found were not welcoming people, and their mannerisms are not good either. Honestly, it was hard for me to tell them, like, are they just racist? Are they just plain out racist? Because the way, like, so many people would be looking at me, and it was locals, like, it wasn't like it was other tourists. It was locals who, the way they were looking at me and made me feel like I just didn't belong at all. And I just felt like always, I felt so down. And there was an instance where this one person actually made fun of me for speaking Spanish, and I didn't know why they were making fun of me, because their menu was in English. Said like the drink that I wanted in English, because I didn't know what a lemon slushy was in Spanish. And then they both made fun of me. The thing is, for me, is that I understand a lot better than I can speak Spanish at this moment in time. And so I can understand everything someone is saying. And so it just made me really sad. And for a moment, I actually stopped speaking Spanish at all, like completely. Like I just was like, I'm just going to speak English. Like I don't know. I've never been to a country where you try to speak someone's language and then they make fun of you for it. Actually, I guess that's a lie, because Quebecers sometimes do it, but not in like, it's like in Quebecers I feel like do it in a way like they're like, oh, you should say it like this, but this was more in like they were just making fun of me. I feel like I can separate that as an event that happened, and I can separate it from the rest of my trip. But I just feel like entirely the rest of my trip, like it felt like on brand for everything that is Spain. And so it was kind of sad, like I really imagined, like, I guess warm, welcoming people, but I didn't really see that. And I don't know if it's because I was in a city. I found Valencia was a bit better. The other thing that I found about Barcelona, it smelled really bad. I went in October and it smelled terrible, especially like in the Gothic quarter and stuff. Like there were so many places where I was just like, I'd be walking the streets and I'd be like, ugh, what is this? And also, I saw 3 different times 3 people pissing in the street, and they were locals. I would see other local people just throwing stuff on the trash, and I was like, what the heck? Like, I didn't see tourists doing that. I would see dog shit, and people would just like walk away with it, and then other locals would be yelling at the other locals. So like, it was crazy. Like, and their architecture just isn't very good, because they have like so many dogs, but it's like a concrete jungle, and so people would like walk around with water bottles to like wash the pee, like that dogs would be peeing, so that it wouldn't smell like pee, which I appreciate those people, but a vast majority of people were not. They were not doing that. I'm gonna just say that. And so it came as a surprise to me, because I was so excited about Barcelona. I was so ready for Barcelona. The food, 100. Hoffman's Patisserie, bruh. The croissant, oh my god, it's so good. The croissant is so good. I can't even explain it. The mango croissant is like chef's kiss. So I highly recommend that. I feel like I would just go to the Barcelona for the croissant. I would just go for the croissant, and that's it. I would get the croissant and then I would leave. I would skedaddle on out of there. But yeah, it just didn't hit me the way I thought it would. And I was sad about that. I really was. Like, I was excited to go home. And that's not, I feel like, not usual for me. Like, I miss my bed a little bit. I don't yearn to ever be back home, usually. And I yearned to get back home. Like, I just was, like, counting down the days. And it wasn't what I thought it was. But then I went to Valencia, and I did have a lot better time. It didn't give me that vibe that Barcelona did. I was still getting looks, which made me sad. I truly, like, I was like, is there something wrong with me? Like, why are people looking at me like this? Like, I had to, like, constantly look in my camera to look at myself, because I was like, what is going on? Why are people staring at me? Maybe I'm just too beautiful. They just could not get enough of me. That's what I had to tell myself eventually, because I was like, this is just too weird. Leave me alone, please. It even made me sad that even when I saw, like, people that were the same race as me, I would get so excited, and I would smile at them, and they didn't smile back, and I was like, oh, y'all don't do the nod here? That is crazy. I am realizing that a lot of other countries, they don't do the nod. But in Valencia, yeah, it was a lot better. I actually met Italians, and they were fun, they were nice. I want to go to Italy now, because they made my trip, honestly. I went to two Italian restaurants, and one specifically was just absolutely amazing. They made me feel so welcomed and were so kind to me, and it was like true authentic restaurant with truly authentic all around. Like I was in a Italian restaurant surrounded by Italians, eating Italian food, chatting with Italians, and it was really nice, and I really appreciated their kindness and their warm hearts. And yeah, that made me want to go to Italy. It does. I really want to go to Italy. It is on my bucket list anyways. The one thing about Valencia that I don't like, and this was also in Greece, I found, is there's lots of, is the appropriate word panhandlers? I don't know what it is, but they come up to you while you're eating, and then they ask for like money or for you to buy things from them. With Valencia, I was kind of taken aback from it because I went to this really well-known restaurant. It's very good. My hotel recommended it, and it's like a place where you need reservations kind of thing. I went and I was alone, and so they were like, oh, you can get a reservation, but you have to wait in line. And I said, yeah, no worries. Sat down. I got outside. I was eating my appetizer. Two panhandlers start coming down like the alleyway, going to each table, asking people for money. This lady, she asked for money in Spanish. I told her no. Then she tried cursing me. Lady, you can't curse me. I was like, what the hell? And the waiters and waitresses were just watching. Like, I was like, what is this? I am in the ghetto. Why are there panhandlers coming to my table? And then this guy was stealing this lady's stuff. Like, I was just like, yo, Spain is crazy. And that point, I was like, I'm not eating outside again. I'm not eating outside. I actually did eat outside one more time after that, and it wasn't even good food. I was so upset. But what I didn't like about Spain is, actually, I didn't mind it. But if you really want to actually eat at a good restaurant, you have to make reservations. I'm not like a reservation kind of person, like, especially for food. Like, why, like, for food, like lunchtime, y'all aren't open. Like the whole thing just, it wasn't it for me. I will just say that. It's not somewhere I'm like, oh, I want to go back to Spain like anytime soon. I do want to go to southern Spain. I think it would be really nice to see. I would love to go to Granada. Am I going to be doing that anytime soon? I honestly, I don't know, because, I feel like first impressions matter. And throughout my trip, there wasn't anything where I was like, oh my god, like feeling so overjoyed, which is surprising to me. And it does make me sad because I've not had that experience before. Like, I've not had this feeling before of not really enjoying my time there. Like, when people ask me, oh my god, how did you like Spain? I say, I love the buildings because I really don't want to be a Debbie Downer, and I don't want people to, like, not want to go to Spain because of it. So I just say how it is. But to add to that, I did meet people in Spain. I love meeting people. I met people who had the same experience as me. They felt the same way. Me and this girl, we bonded over it, actually. And we talked about how we just felt like Spain was very hard. She's also Black, and we really felt the racism there. And she's from America. We really felt the racism. She felt it. I felt it. She actually had confided. She said, like, I cried. And I was like, yo, me too. I cried. Like, the way that I felt was it's a feeling that I've not felt before. Like, I felt completely and utterly alone. And, like, completely, like, it's not because I was traveling by myself. I felt alone because it felt like the people there were looking at me like I was like a zoo animal or something. Like, they looked at me like I was a monster. Like, I kept having to look, like I said, look at my camera, make sure there was nothing on my face. They were ignoring me sometimes. And, just thinking about it makes me, like, my eyes tear up because it was such a terrible feeling to go through. And I hope people don't ever have to go through that. It was such, like, just such like a sad a moment to be in, and I tried not to think of it. I tried to think of like the beautiful moments that I was having. Like I still cherish the moments that I did have. There was beautiful nature around me. The buildings were beautiful, and I try to focus on those things, but I just found the people were not nice. Yeah, it was just that I just didn't find the environment was pleasant, particularly in Barcelona. Like when I think about it, I'm truly, when I'm envisioning like the feelings that I'm currently feeling, I'm picturing Barcelona. And I knew when I was talking to my friend I had made and we were talking about it, I was so happy and felt so reassured that it was not just in my head, because I thought maybe it's in my head. Maybe I'm the one who's perceiving all of this wrong, and I wasn't. And I would look on Reddit and I would see posts and I was like, okay, it's not just me. And it's just funny because like so many people, they talk such great things about Barcelona, and yeah, it wasn't the experience. It definitely wasn't the experience that I had with it. Interestingly enough, I had met someone previously before I went to Spain who had actually mentioned that they didn't like it. They didn't like Barcelona. They liked Madrid more. And they had named some of the things I had mentioned here. They had said it was dirty. They just didn't like it. It felt really dirty and it smelled. And I was just like, you know what? That's your opinion. I don't really take people's opinions. Like, even though I'm saying all of this, I do like still go to Spain if that's where you want to go, because I just think it's good to, experience things for yourself. She told me that. I said, okay, like I'm going to make my own judgment of it, but it sucks that you had like a bad time. She was right. She was right. I was like, oh, I should have listened to her, but I actually know that I shouldn't have, because that wouldn't be me, and I would have thought if I didn't go to Barcelona, I would go another time. You know what I mean? Because I wouldn't have known from my own personal experience. And then I actually had a coworker who went to Spain earlier than me, and she was so excited for me to go. She's like, I can't wait for you to go to Spain. You have to tell me all about it. And then when I came back, she's like, how did you like Spain? And I was like, honestly, I didn't like it. And she was like, yeah, me neither. And I was like, girl, you could have given me a warning. Like, but I don't know. I think like because there's so much hype around Spain being like this amazing country that people literally move to, there's this like thought that, wow, Spain's going to be amazing. Like all these people are saying all these things, it's going to be amazing. And then you just realize it's not all that. Not to say that there's not great things in Spain. Like I said, I loved the buildings and the food was really good. Surprisingly really good. I was surprised. Like I didn't think they would actually use that much seasoning. And even maybe they didn't use a lot of seasoning, but they were able to make it taste good at the same time still. So I was good about that. And also one thing that I liked about generally just in Europe is that I can eat gluten there, whereas here I cannot eat gluten. I'm gluten intolerant here, but when I go overseas, I can eat gluten. That's a discussion for another day. But isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? But yeah, if you wanted to see like what I got up to while I was in Spain, because I did go to a lot of places. Like I said, I had my itinerary down to a T. I made my reservations and everything like that. So if you wanted an idea of some things that you can do when you're in Spain, check out my stories on Instagram, because most likely I haven't put all my posts of Spain on my Instagram feed yet. Because yeah, like I said, the buildings were amazing. I loved going to each and every attraction that I went to. That I can't deny that. The views were beautiful, the attractions were great, the food was pretty good. So I think, if you can ignore the environment of things, you'll be good. Maybe the environment would be different when you go. I don't want you to not go to Spain because of this, but it's more of like a warning. Like I would say if there's other places on your list, you might like them more. The only reason I would go back, like if I were to ever do it again, I think if I hadn't gone to Spain, knowing what I know now, I would go back to Spain to see Gaudi's work, like just like see it in real time and everything like that. But I would not have it at the top of my list to go to. And I would also make sure it's during like a lesser season, because I don't think like the price, how expensive it is worth the experience that you get for it, if that makes any sense. I think that I've gone to much cheaper places and had a much better outcome because the environment was better. The people were just warmer in general. There were still attractions, there were still views, and there was still just beautiful vibes where I went. So it all depends on you and what you're looking for, though. I think it is, if it is on your bucket list, definitely go. Definitely go, experience the environment, experience all of it. And then tell me what you thought of it. And I want to know, like, did you guys experience anything that I mentioned while you were there? What did you like most about Spain? What didn't you like is about Spain? Like, it's okay, you can tell me. And yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to film this video and just chat, just a little chit chat. I wanted to do a quick chit chat of Spain before it was too long had passed since my trip, and I kind of forgot my feelings a little bit. So that is a little bit of summary of Spain, my favorite parts of Spain, what I liked, what I loved, what I didn't like. And you can go and see on my Instagram all of the exact locations, the exact restaurants, and everything like that. Ciao, you guys. I will see you later.